Well, the discussion doesn't end with hangouts. We come to the studio now. We're still discussing fighting corruption in Nigeria. It's 2 years now since this administration told us that one of their core focus would be to fight corruption in the country. Well, with me in the studio, I have a social commentator, Benga Onitilod. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
So how successful or unsuccessful has the government been in fighting corruption in Nigeria?
I would say we still busy. We have not really started the real reforms in terms of the systemic rots. The bulk of what we've been seeing is isolation cases of people that have diverted commonwealth, individuals within the military, within the political, former political, within the PDP, and some within the military that have been picked up one way or the other for diverting funds. Like, for example, the arms deal scandal, Dasuki, a lot of cases ongoing, no real judgment, no real prosecution and judgment has come through the courts. There have been a lot of back and forth, and it's affecting optics in the terms of people are beginning to wonder, is it a one-sided affair where people in the ruling party, some even in the administration of today, have been fingered on issues of corruption, allegations against them.
Are you one of those people who think this is a one-sided fight against corruption?
I'm one of those that feel we are not fighting it the way it ought to be fought. I don't only believe it's one-sided, but I believe it's not a process-driven and systemic issue, because fighting corruption has to do with you starting with reforms around the things that allow people to dip their hands into the cookie jar and divert the commonwealth. You should be focusing more on how to stop these things from happening, because if you keep chasing the individuals and isolated incidences here and there, and you have not carried out a reform with a strengthened judiciary, reformed and strengthened police force, institutions independent, and you don't have even a reformed civil service. Because at the end of the day, most of these acts are done in collaboration with civil servants. And if you have not done reform along all those lines, strengthen the police as well, reform the police. The judiciary has a semblance of independence, not under the shadows of the judiciary. And you need to reform. There are a whole lot of reform that needs to be done for us to know we are on the path.
Okay, but some people have this notion that, fine, you need to reform, but we have to start from somewhere. And even if you say it's one-sided, you cannot confidently say that the people who have been suspects, or named at this time are innocent. So if subsequent government would do, even if it's the one-sided justice, then Nigeria will still be clean.
So that's what we're saying, that corruption is still going on. For example, if you look at the monetary policies of Nigeria, it's an albatross that creates corruption itself. Any country that has more than one window of foreign exchange has opened itself up to corruption, because at the end of the day, there is intervention coming from the central bank into the money market, and the funds are not getting to the real people that need these funds. What do you call that? It's the commonwealth of the nation you are injecting, and you have the bankers involved in the process, you have the politicians, you have the civil servants. So you have not created a process that stops all these things from happening. Look at the civil servants. You will see civil servants that earn maybe about 100,000 a month, owning properties worth billions all around Abuja. Look at our procurement process.
But these things you have mentioned are so much. So how would you suggest that this fight against corruption starts, if not the ways it's being handled at the moment?
Well, the issue is this. We need to first ask, what created the loopholes within the system? Starting from, for example, you have a padded budget. Look at every year. Our budget, for example, we do an enveloping kind of budget where we keep recycling the same things every year. Last year, if you look at the budget, they bought catering equipment in Aso Rock. This year, they bought catering equipment again. Last year, they bought vehicles. You have vehicles also in the budget. The vehicles that have a warranty of maybe about 3 years, 100,000 kilometers, you are repeating it in your budget. So even the process of budgeting, we need to go to a place where we do what we call zero budgeting. That's only place attention. No allocation is made on anything. You look at only the critical items relevant to growth and development on different sides of the economy. Then you now start allocating resources to that. That's one way to start. What about wages? Wages, pensions. And when you start with the reform of the civil, because when you talk about the budget, for example, at the end of the day, it's the MDs that carry out the implementation of the budget. They are the ones that teach people, even the ministers and everybody, how to go about diverting the Commonwealth. First, we start with the reform of the civil service. The judiciary must be strengthened, must be fixed. There must be reform within the civil service. You must have all the institutions fully self-sustaining, fully independent, not under the control of any arm of government. If we don't fix all these elements, we cannot truly say we are fighting corruption and we cannot have victory on this part.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Onitilo, for being a part and for sharing your views. Well, Mr. Onitilo is saying that it's only when the institutions in Nigeria are strengthened, that's when we can truly say we're fighting on winning the fight against corruption. Well, that's it on this studio discussion for this session of Channels Beam. But the program is not over. We'll bring you the trending videos for the past week.
The president will assent to the budget.
After the passage of the 2017 appropriation bill in the National Assembly, the question of who will assent to it in the absence of President Muhammadu Buhari became a trending question. The senior special assistant to the president on National Assembly matters, Ita Enang, cleared the air on this based on the acting powers which have been transferred to the vice president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo.
I will abandon the PDP. Straight away. I will never work with Sheriff. I've said that. I don't mind what. I cannot work, I cannot do anything with Sheriff.
The governor of Ekiti State, Ayo Fayose, has threatened that he might leave the major opposition People's Democratic Party if the ongoing row within the party ends in favor of Ali Modu Sheriff.
The strategy for the 2018 election is entirely my business. The way I go about it is entirely my business.
Tears of joy was abundant when the recently released 82 Chibok schoolgirls met with their parents after about 3 years of separation. The development got reaction from the world.
Do you regret that relationship?
Of course. Of course.
Nollywood actress Toyin Aimaku made it to the trending videos last week when she opened up on her failed marriage.
Because I made him. You want to make me cry, but no, I'm not gonna cry. I made a terrible mistake, which so
And the most watched video for the week was the reliving of some memorable moments with late actress Moji Olaiya. The 42-year-old actress passed away in Canada just 2 months after she was delivered of a baby girl.
That's it for this episode of the program. Hope you'll join us for the next episode. I'm Ini Thompson.